Philip Liebel here with Primitive Wilderness Survival. If you found yourself on this video and you haven't yet seen the stop video, stop, think, observe, plan, be sure to go back and watch that, and it'll kind of catch you up to speed with where we are right now, which is the priorities of survival. So we're going to discuss something called the rule of threes. I really want everybody to keep in mind that the rule of threes is a little bit of a canned answer. There are many variables that go into deciding what your priorities are. The main ones being location and the weather and what is going on in your exact area and what kind of shape you're in. Okay, so there's a lot of variables. The rule of threes is just a tool that you can reach back. It's easy to memorize, and you can kind of remember, like, oh yeah, I need to drink water. I need to not freeze to death. It's common sense stuff, but it kind of helps you figure out, the best way to put those ideas into motion. And some people are just planners. They have to have a plan. They have to have a step-by-step list that they can follow. And this really helps those kind of people out. Okay, so the rule of threes are that you can go 3 minutes without dying of lack of breathing, so suffocation, or from bleeding out. Okay, so those two things will kill you very quickly. That's kind of an obvious thing that you need to take care of any kind of life-threatening situation first. So we need our oxygen, our air, to go in and out, and our blood to go round and round, and we need those two things to be uninterrupted. Okay, so if you hit an artery and you're bleeding out, or even just a bad venous bleed, and you're bleeding profusely, obviously we need to stop, think, observe, plan fairly quickly, and get to the point where we're taking care of that bleed, stopping the bleed, and making sure that we don't bleed out. Okay, that should be common sense. Okay, but again, people tend to freak out and not make the best choices when they are under stress. So just remember, I need to breathe, and I need to not be bleeding all over the place to continue living. So we'll take care of those things first. The next is that we can go 3 hours before dying from dehydration, and that is, 3 hours before dying from exposure. And that is extremely exaggerated, because I go out on the landscape every day and I haven't died from exposure yet. So those are extreme cases. Really hot or really cold. Okay, so we can die fairly rapidly if we are out dressed like this and it is negative 32 degrees outside. Okay, so if we find ourselves in that situation, maintaining our core body temperature is going to be number one. Or if it's extremely hot and the sun is just beating down on us, and we just can't get a break from that, building a shelter in either of those situations and maintaining our core body temperature, creating a microclimate, and keeping our body 98.6 degrees, not higher, not lower, is going to be our next priority. Okay, so from there I can go 3 days before dying from dehydration. And again, that could go greatly in one direction or the other. If I find myself out in the desert and I'm dehydrated to begin with, I could die much more quickly than 3 days. Or I could go a little longer than 3 days without water, depending on how I'm conserving the water that I have in me. But our next priority, outside of maintaining our core body temperature and making sure we're not bleeding to death or suffocating, is going to be making sure that we hydrate. Okay, and from there you can go up to 3 weeks, possibly even more, before dying from starvation. So that's going to come much later into play. But two things with dehydration and starvation: they both play a vital role in your ability to make good decisions. Okay, so if you have the ability to get something to eat, do so, but only if you're able to hydrate as well. If you do not have access to water, don't be eating a bunch of plants and stuff, because your body's going to use that water to digest. So kind of try to keep a balance. Make sure that you hydrate if you can. Make sure that you're getting food in if you can and you're able to stay hydrated, and it'll make it much easier to make good decisions, okay? But the other big thing that is oftentimes overlooked is to rest, okay? Because again, if you're not getting enough sleep, you're gonna also make really bad decisions, okay? So we want to take care of ourselves. If we're tired, we wanna stop, we wanna rest, make sure we get good sleep, and do everything we can to stay somewhat comfortable and keep ourselves making good decisions. So that's the rule of threes, the basic priorities of survival. Again, it is a really canned answer, but if you keep those things in mind, you can make common sense decisions based on outside inputs in our environment. So if you need water first, hydrate first before you spend a lot of energy and time building a shelter. If you need shelter first, do that. But just keep these things in mind and try to use them during the planning aspect of stop. Again, the stop, think, observe, plan. Okay, use these things with the planning aspect of that to figure out what our next steps are going to be in maintaining our health, and then we can get into being rescued or rescuing ourselves. But we got to make sure that we take care of ourselves first, and that we meet these basic priorities that our body needs to survive. So thanks for watching. Again, there's a lot of variables to take in, a lot to consider, but this is just a really easy guide to kind of put you in the right direction. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll continue watching other ones that we have. You can check us out on primitivewildernesssurvival.com, or on Facebook and Instagram, and of course on YouTube. So thanks for watching.